Welcome back to the show, you radical human. Today I spoke to the Modern Primal, Mr. Joe Phair. He is a marathon running man mountain, weighing in at 240 pounds and 6'6", setting incredible times on the track or on the pavement. This is the definition of the new age hybrid athlete. So we talk all about that journey with him. What is his take on this entire movement? Whilst he is really good at running marathons, he'll be the first to tell you that it's probably not the best thing that you can do for your health. We have a conversation all around that, fueling with real food, overcoming adversity and childhood trauma, a day in the life of the Modern Primal himself. What does he eat and how does he supplement to train at such a high level? And what is mastic gum? How it can give you a chiseled jaw and help potentially heal your gut. So much actionable information in this one, and just a very, very inspiring dude. So without further ado, let's get into the show with Mr. Modern Primal, Joe Phair. Joe, welcome to the podcast, my brother. I'm very excited to chat to you today. We share a moniker in the Primal. So I've called myself Peak Primal Health on Instagram for years because I'm really interested in that primal lens, and you are the Modern Primal. So that's where I want to start before we dive in. Like, what allured you to that name, that kind of ancestral lens, the primal side of things?
I love it. What a heater for the first question, by the way.
Coming in hot.
We could take the whole podcast to talk about this. It's pretty deep, so it's a great question. But I think that it's so many things. I'm not going to pin it to just one thing, but the Modern Primal has a lot of deep meaning for me. The modern side of things is like, we're these modern humans that have achieved these modern advances because we're super intellectual, and I think that modern things can be great. I think that society has kind of hyper modernized over, especially like starting from the 1900s, especially. Like we've always been modernizing, but I just think like when my parents were growing up, like things started to get super, super modern. And so growing up, I actually watched my parents go through a lot of like modern problems, right? That a lot of people haven't really dealt with back in the day, like big pharma, big food, just like societal normalities, and then just dealing with their own traumas and stuff. And so it really affected me when I was a teenager. It affected my family. And so growing up throughout the years, it's really, it's the primal diet, lifestyle, like grounding, moving, like all that stuff is super important, and it's a big part of it. But yeah, it's just about like kind of remembering who we are as people, and just like entering this, I can kind of feel people gravitating towards this period of like radical healing, radical health radio, love it, radical. That's just such a powerful word, radical health. And I think that primal ways and diet and all that stuff can like really help us get connected to who we really are, and it can help heal a lot of people.
Yeah, amen. And it's funny because I've been using that term for so long, radical, because it's a powerful word. It instills this like kind of rebellious spirit. And it's so funny that in the radical rebellion against modernity and modern living and all of these conveniences that we've got, that a lot of it is getting back to basics. It's like remembering where we came from. It's like eating real food. It's grounding. It's sunshine. It's even to segue into what you've become known for as a huge guy. For people that are watching, they'll see that. But for people that are listening, you are 6'4", 230-ish, something like that, right?
I'm 6'6", a little over 230 right now. So I'm a pretty big guy.
And you run marathons, which is kind of not conventionally what you'd expect. Usually a smaller, slender frame, lighter. Yeah. And even that to me is a little bit primal, because we've always had this persistence hunter kind of thing in our DNA, that we can do these crazy, insane feats of endurance. But again, going against the grain with your constitution, being a bigger guy, being an athlete, being what has now become known as a hybrid athlete is a really interesting segue as well. But I do think that there is just something really magical about this, getting back to basics. For you, did it start with diet? Did it start with movement? Where did it start? What was the kind of the red pill into this kind of way of living?
100%. So to preface that question, I was a product of my environment and my experiences. And so when I talk about my parents, it's like in my early 20s and teenage years and all this stuff, it developed me into a product of a super modern Western human. I was essentially like in the matrix, as one might say, like super deep, just processed food. With basically all I ate was processed food. When I was of age, and even before that, just drinking alcohol all the time, constant numbing. just living my life for the wrong reasons, not really having purpose, not really knowing who I even was or what I loved. And it was just so numb. It's like you look left and right everywhere you turn. It's like, maybe it's not alcohol, maybe you quit alcohol, and then it's the news or the media, or even hanging out with certain people can be a numbing mechanism. And so I was just in that modern, it's just like really just those normalities that a lot of humans are going through right now, especially in Western society. And so a big turning point for me was I had just gotten out of the military. I served 6 years in the Navy, and I had this girl who I really loved at the time cheat on me. And I was like the ultimate victim at the time. This was like 3-4 years ago. This was a while ago. And the whole time I was just like, oh man, like I'm such a good dude. Like, why would you cheat? Like, just being like such a victim. And then something just kind of changed within me. I went from a super safe paycheck in the Navy. I got out. I didn't really have much help. And so I was just in this like almost like fight or flight, back against the wall, no money, crazy debt, like nothing to lose. And so I had just gotten out of a super safe relationship. That was the plan. And so I was just like, man, I got to change something. And I entered this period where I just found the right people. I saw the right content online, whatever it was. Like, it's a combination of things, met the right people. I was so blessed to be able to open up that pathway and opportunity. And I just started taking ultimate responsibility for everything in my life. I started to question everything I was doing. I made these wristbands. I still have it. It says like, why not? And this was a few years ago, but it's like, that was my mantra. And I would just ask why not? Like, just start being curious, like hyper curious about everything going on in my life. Like, why do I eat this? Why do I wear this? Why do I hang out with these people? Why do I say these words? Like, why do I feel this way about this? And it was like some ultra like red pill, like matrix breaking type shit. And, it did kind of start with diet. One of the big catalysts on my journey is a guy named Brian Sanders. Food Lies.
Yeah, Food Lies. He's been on the show.
Yeah, he's been on the show. I'm sure he's friends with Paul. I got connected with these guys like right when I moved back to Austin, and I had this like really intimate rooftop dinner with him and a few other people. And I had raw organ meats for the first time, and we were just eating these really nutrient dense steaks. And dude, it was like I was back in like caveman days, and we were all just like picking it up with our fingers, dipping it in the honey jar. Like, nobody's using napkins. Everybody's got their shirts off barefoot. Like, it just felt really good. Like, and part of it was the food and feeling like nutrient dense, but part of it was just like breaking bread with awesome people and like with good quality food that actually charges you up. It's just like an energy thing. And that was like the first time that I had felt that. And I became ultra passionate about that. That day forward, I was like, I want to make other people feel this way. And so I would make exquisite, like animal-based dinners and, beef tongue, almond flour tacos and just all this crazy stuff. And meanwhile, in the whole process of all of that, back full circle, I got unbelievably shredded. I had unbelievable mental clarity. I was incredibly confident. And that was all from just cutting out processed foods, eating whole foods, prioritizing protein. And it was so powerful. So that's kind of like where my personal brand really started in that. And that's where I first got into like coaching and helping others and posting a lot of stories, putting people on the diet, getting involved with Heart and Soil. Just being like, yeah, guys, I promise bull testicle is awesome. Like, try it. Right. It'll charge you up. So yeah, the diet has been a massive part of it. And it was the initial spark that got me on my entire self-development journey. And it's kind of evolved from there.
It's so powerful, man. I think about it this way a lot, that breakdowns can lead to breakthroughs if it doesn't break you. And it sounds like you managed to piece that all together. And I think some bodybuilders say nothing will make a bodybuilder quite like heartbreak. You break a man's heart, you put him in the gym, you get him in beast mode, you get him in monk mode, and he's focusing, he's just going after it. And all of a sudden, like you said, some serendipitous moments, meeting the right people, and then becoming a voice for this and wanting to share it. It's similar to my journey in that sense. Like as soon as I realized and my eyes were open to like, oh, I don't have to live in chronic pain, and I felt good and I looked good. You just want to tell everybody about it because it's like right there, and you know how good that feels. And I think it's just really empowering to be able to pay that forward. And you know, it certainly helps when you are walking the walk and you look like, you know, in our culture as a giga chad, as you might get called, you know, 6'6", strong, big, ripped, but not just a meathead, not just putting up big numbers in the gym, doing other things and kind of breaking the boundaries of what is possible and what people perceive as possible for endurance, especially for a guy your size. So I want to transition into that. When did that kind of emerge, and how much of what was your influence in that? Like, what's your take on this hybrid athlete movement, and even guys like Nick Barre and things like that? How much of an influence were they on your journey?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's a great topic, and that is, you know, really what my personal brand has become known for, especially on like Instagram. I started with like a lot of like primal content and like grounding and stuff, and I still do all of that stuff, and I live the lifestyle. But I found this amazing thing called running, and I want to say that I don't think that long distance running in particular, I think sprinting is fantastic, but I don't think long distance running is amazing for health, for optimal health. If you're trying to if you're trying to have the healthiest blood markers and feel the best every day, then don't sign up for a marathon. You know, but what the marathon was for me was the ultimate chosen strategic adversity. It's like the most incredible thing I've found. It's like it was so hard, it was almost like self-mutilation at times. Like truly, that's what it felt like for me. But it was the most incredible adversity, because we know that you have to go up the hill in order to get to the downhill, or you got to go through, you know, there has to be a risk for the reward. And yeah, as a big guy, the marathon is completely different. I think pound for pound, I think I am an incredible marathon runner. You know, not to gloat, and I'm definitely not the best comparatively, not that I'm comparing with too many people, but it was something that I ran the 400 in high school. So like I have a bit of a running background, no distance whatsoever. But anyway, so like after I found Animal Base and I was living that life for, you know, a year or two, I was really into Nick Barre content. I think that he's a fantastic role model and just a guy who chooses a lot of strategic adversity. Just watching his YouTube throughout the years, he's documenting everything. You see what, you know, he used to be a massive guy before he got like super shredded and fast. And so I felt like I could really relate to that, because at a time I was 260 pounds, just really, really heavy and, you know, pretty muscular too. So I just felt like I resonated with his story a lot. And so I would just watch his content, and I was looking for something to challenge myself. And so I just started running. I just started running a few miles a day. Like with Ryan McPhail, who used to work here at Heart and Soil, we would meet up at the lake, run 4 or 5 miles. He would crush me. You know, he was getting ready to go to the Army, and I was like, man, like I need to practice this more. And so I ended up signing up for my first half marathon in San Antonio back in like 2022 in August. 2022 of August is when I ran my first half marathon, and it was so hard. It was like, holy moly, this is really hard. And I tried my heart out, and I averaged a 7:47 pace, I think, for my first half marathon, and
which is still a really good time.
Yeah, it's a really great time. And I don't want anyone listening to this to like compare themselves, because as I speak through my journey, I might, you know, I just relatively think about it. But man, even just to be able to finish a half marathon is an amazing feat. And I think a lot of people could do it, even if it's not like super, super fast, but fast is relative. And so anyways, I ran my heart out. I got a 7:47, and then I just dedicated like everything to it. I was like, I'm going to start documenting this. I'm seeing all these other guys online, like Matt Choi and like a few other guys. They're just like, I was just really digging it. And I was like, I can do this. I can freaking do this. And so I just started training really hard, and it's been the ultimate journey. I've learned so many lessons along the way. I haven't done it perfectly. I've made so many mistakes. But anyway, so I continued on the running journey, and then I signed up for my first full marathon I ran my first full marathon exactly a year later. And it was a crazy experience. I trained a lot in that time period, dealt with a few injuries, but ultimately, glued myself back together, made it to that race, and I finished it at like a 3:12. So that's a 7 minutes and 15 seconds per mile.
Wow.
So it was a big jump from the year before. It was a big jump. And the funny thing is I was so disappointed in myself after I finished, because I was shooting for a sub 3 hour, because like that's like this big Boston qualifying goal that it's like all the chads of the running space are shooting for this. A lot of them, right? It's like this, like it's how you qualify for Boston.
Right.
So every marathon runner like secretly probably wants to do that. And so
like for context, like a sub 3 is probably the top 1% of runners or something like that, right? It's got to be.
Yeah, it's maybe even, it's like, and there's people that are really, really fast, but there's not a lot of humans that will go across this lifetime that will have accomplished that feat.
Right.
And so it's really impressive, like for anybody. And so I was like just trying to do this amazing feat where I'm like this massive dude, and I run one for my first marathon. I was like, fuck yeah, that'll be awesome. And I just got kind of lost in the sauce throughout the process of like that goal. I was like so set on the goal that it's like all I thought about. I was even so anxious before I ran the race. I was just like, it was unbelievable. I was like, because I didn't think I could do it, kind of like when it came, I was like, oh shit, I don't know if I can run a sub 3. And I was like, I'm just going to go try my heart out. And when I crossed the finish line, I was like crying, the whole race, I was freaking crying because it was so hard. Like it was this crazy feat of endurance. And something I've said on other podcasts and something I will continue to say is I feel like I had no business shooting for a sub 3 hour marathon, but it was a superpower, because the goals that are high like that are the goals where you have to shoot for the moon and you might reach the stars. You know what I'm saying? But it's like if you never shoot for the moon, then you might just get to the Earth's atmosphere and you won't even, So I'm really grateful that I had that ambitious goal, because it propelled me forward in such a way where I just expedited so much growth, almost to the point where it was too much, a bit overtrained, dealing with a few injuries. And so the process has been really tedious. I've been constantly changing things and learning. Just ran my second marathon a few months ago in Maine, and beat my time by 2 minutes, so 3:10. And it was after a traumatic brain injury I had this past November. And so my training block was just incredibly low. There were only 2 weeks where I ran over 40 miles. And so it was a really impressive feat for me, and I was super proud of myself, and I completely changed. I went from that external validation of like the goal and the followers or like whatever that would come with it, or just whatever it was such an external goal, to I'm so proud of myself for even finishing this. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to run right now. Like just all internal, all self-love, internal validation. And that was the difference for me. And so I'm really satisfied with the running journey now, and it's been the best strategic adversity for me.
That's really cool, man. I think there's some very important points in that transition into the intrinsic motivation is big. What's the quote about, the person who loves walking will walk a lot further than the person who loves the destination, kind of thing. And it's cheesy and it's cliche and we hear it all the time, but you have to kind of go through it to see the difference in the energy on which you're fueling yourself. Like all for the validation or the likes or, the added pressure of like, oh, these people are watching me now and I've stated this and I've got to live up to that hype versus like, I'm just friggin' grateful to be here, man, especially after overcoming that adversity with the brain aneurysm. And it's interesting to me to hear you speak about the importance for you of choosing adversity, and that marathon running or long distance physical challenge is a really great way to do that, because you're no stranger to adversity. And I've heard stories from your childhood and you've overcame a lot. And I think that in a world, again, coming to what we started the conversation with, where a lot of people are in this zone of comfortable complacency, they feel maybe that they don't want to do this. They might hear you talking, they're like, that's really cool and that's really impressive for you, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to break my body down. I'm good, man. That sounds miserable. But having been a person, never done anything that impressive, but I choose to microdose adversity too, because it gives me a sense of meaning. And I think it gives you a sense of just growth, and then it makes you somebody that is interesting for other people to listen to and such. So speaking to adversity, why is it so important for you to choose it? And what have you learned about going through life, facing lots of adversity, more than the average person, I would say?
Yeah, dude, very thoughtful question. I love adversity. I just want to start out by saying that I think everything is for everybody. Nothing is bad. It's just a perception or a lens that you have. And it's at the end of the day, even if it's really things that society could perceive as bad, or that is just like, there's no way this could be good. It's like the ultimate responsibility mindset is glass half full no matter what. And it's your choice. It's your choice. But anyways, like you said, like I've been through some adversity in my life, and I think adversity is relative. And so I don't think my story is, any different. The thing is people will find trauma in trauma is so relative. Things that happen to you as a kid, like even if you have amazing parents, even if you have an amazing childhood, like we'll still find ways to hold some resentment certain ways. And so I just don't want to make it sound like my story is any worse than anybody else's, because I know everything's relative, and I just want to make everybody feel validated in their own way and not compare and be like, oh shit, I don't have a Batman origin story. I can't I can't run a marathon.
Yeah, we don't need to play trauma trump cards, everybody's been through some shit. For sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So, me personally, I went through a lot of adversity growing up with my parents, kind of how I was introducing the modern primal, and why I'm so passionate about living life a certain type of way and having certain morals and seeing the world through a certain lens is because I went through a lot of personal trauma with my parents, mainly in my teenage years, as they were separating and just going through their own trauma and facing their own demons. As a kid, it's like you're an environment of your experiences, or you're a product of your environment and your experiences. And most of that is your parents growing up, if that's the dynamic of your family. And so whenever our parents go through stuff, it's easy to take on that stuff as your own, or it's kind of hard not to, especially if you're immersed in it and also feeling the effects. And so my mom and dad are, good humans. I love them with all of my heart. I love them and forgive them forever. I think every human is beautiful, like even humans in jail that have committed like heinous acts. Like, I think that they're people of God that are love and light, and that they were just inherited personalities. And, everybody can make mistakes, or everybody does. And so anyways, I have the most love and understanding for my parents and everybody in this world. And I think going through things with my parents like one of the reasons I'm so grateful is because I can now show others so much love and understanding. Like nobody can wrong me. Nobody can I truly have the most love and understanding, and it's been one of the most freeing things. And anyway, so I watched my parents go through some like demons, like drug addiction, alcohol addiction, just abuse to each other, to my siblings and I. Watched my dad go in and out of rehab, treating us with not a lot of respect, and just being physical with my siblings and I, my mother, some verbal abuse, like just, stuff like that. And then my mom and dad split, and my siblings and I went and lived with my mom. And when we were living with her, she completely fell apart. She just started overdosing on drugs like every week, just really down a bad path, so bad could barely even like get out of bed some days, just like so addicted. And so I was trying to save her for like 2 years and just like really love her through that and try to just make a lot of sense of it and understand why. And it opened, like, it formed me to be the product that I was in my early 20s and like kind of be negative and like almost be like my father. There's been certain times in my life where it's like, I can't escape him. Holy shit. It's like, and so like, I've just had these really unique perspectives where I've questioned shit, because it's like, I've had to come to terms with the fact that like my parents don't know everything. And like, it's just this different dynamic that only certain people could probably resonate with. But yeah, I went through a time in my teenage years when I was just going through it, and my parents were going through it. And so, like, I didn't see the adversity as a blessing at the time. I didn't see any growth from it. I was like, this fucking sucks. I'm set back 10 years in life now, like this, that, and the other. And I haven't been able to see it until the last few years, because I finally kind of like overcame like a big hump of adversity, and I got to look back and see all of the growth, look at things from new perspectives that I've learned throughout the years. And now, and like when I saw that, I think, and when I realized how much adversity I went through and how much better it made me and how much better I am for it, I'm like, I got to implement something strategic now. And that's what marathon running was for me. And it was also a way for me to, I think, fight through some of those demons and learn how to process some of the trauma throughout of it, and, or throughout the process. And, yeah, like it's, you know, life is really, really crazy. And I don't want to make, I know that I haven't shared too many details, and I don't want to make my parents sound like they're not great people or that they did a horrible job. But the main message I want people to get from this is like, yo, parents are people too.
Yeah.
And
it's their first go around as well.
Yeah. This is their first time. You don't just have kids and then you're like, oh, I know how to be a perfect parent.
No.
And so love and understanding is truly the way, and it's really freeing. So
yeah, man. I don't know whether you've ever heard this quote, but there's a young quote that goes something like, the greatest task a child must bear is the unfinished business of the parents. And like when you said like, wow, I can't get away from my dad, I'm becoming him in some ways. That's the path that you can choose to follow, or you can choose to walk away from. And I'm always interested, because whether it's the podcast or whether it's like friends or clients that have been through something, you know, quote unquote traumatic, in the aftermath of that, with enough distance, there's usually a gratitude like you're describing. Like, it sucked at the time. I wouldn't want to go through it again, but I'm grateful for it now, because it taught me about who I am, and it taught me a lot about life. And some people, you know, unfortunately don't get out of that, and they become the victim. And it's, you know, power follows the blame finger, and we could say, well, it was my parents' fault forever. And that sucks, and I wish we could shake people out of that. But it's really interesting insight that the people that have been able to reverse engineer it, piece it together, now understand that, yeah, the thing you're going through right now, even if it feels like a bad thing, is good training. It's good training for the future. And if you don't have that, and you're blessed to just kind of have a life that's filled with more mundane problems, let's call it, like the just problem of being a modern human in this very confused world, then it is really important to choose adversity, because when adversity finds you in life, which it will, this is kind of the training ground for it. So whether that's a marathon, or whether that's, you know, hot yoga class where you're dying and you're sweating and it's too hot, whether that's the chosen adversity of meditating for an hour and sitting with your own mind, like, you've got to find it, I think, because if you don't, life is going to serve you up some adversity at some point. And the more time you've put in, whether it's pounding the pavement or sitting on the yoga mat or whatever it is, you're going to be grateful that you did that. And I think it's just really cool to see that you've found your outlets, and now we're sharing that and inviting other people to find it as well.
Yeah, 100%, brother. I appreciate that. And I agree with everything you just said. I think adversity is a superpower. Choose some adversity, find some adversity. If you feel like you weren't given a lot of adversity in life, or gifted a lot of adversity, or even if you have, it's like, choose some adversity and just see how good it feels. And then you'll get to this point where you want to run up the hill. You're like, fuck yeah, let's run towards the adversity, because I know it's going to cause so much growth. It's like, instead of procrastinating bad stuff happening, it's like, yo, let's just go through it. Let's face these experiences. Experience is the best teacher.
Yeah.
And that's usually what adversity is, like learning things. It's like learning how to do stuff like that. That is perceived as adversity because it's not comfortable. And it's just how we grow as humans. So I 100% agree. I think it's so powerful. It's a superpower, and you can tap into it at any time. Anyone can choose adversity. It's just waking up earlier, doing a cold shower. Not like some people, it's just changing their diet for 1 week.
Yeah. It is a choice, man. It is a choice. You said the diet piece there, and I'm curious how you squared the circle of opening your eyes to the power of food, real food, something like an ancestral animal-based diet, and stepping into the ultra endurance space where it's a lot of just eat whatever because you need to burn it. Gel packs and all kinds of stuff, you know, just for the calories, because you're burning an awful lot of calories, I imagine, put it in the kind of volume that you do. So how do you continue, or how did you train for marathons and put in all of that road work while still keeping a focus on quality and making sure that you were properly fueled? Or some of the mistakes you made might have been the underfueling aspect of that. So what's the journey been like there? Yeah,
it's been an incredible journey. It's been an adverse journey with the nutrition piece, because like you said, man, distance running it requires an insane amount of fuel, or any sort of performance athlete that's burning a major amount of calories, it's just so necessary. And the animal-based diet, it's like you can definitely get those. You can get all the calories, you can get all the macronutrients you need. It's just, it makes like the way that society's set up and everything, like it makes it a bit harder. It's the same with just eating an animal-based diet in general. That's like saying like, oh, well, it's easier to go through the drive-through. So it's like, I think that for people that want to stay on their diet and use good nutrition to fuel, because most people don't. Most people are drinking Coca-Colas and eating Sour Patch Kids and stuff. And I'm not here to judge anyone. And I've had a Coca-Cola before too. I prefer the Mexican Cokes if I'm going to grab one,
Yeah, the real stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But for me personally, at first, I was really trying to maintain aesthetics as I jumped into the marathon thing, because I was like basically like bone shredded. Like you could see like every vein in my body, and I had a lot of pride in that, and I wanted to hold on to that while I was running, because I wanted to be like just like Nick Bear, like if he can do it, I can do it. And for me, I really struggled at first with finding a way to get enough calories. I was definitely under fueling, and my muscles weren't recovering properly because of it. I was eating enough protein for sure, because I would always prioritize my meat and like lots of fats, but I wasn't getting enough carbohydrates or just calories in general, I believe. And so, whenever your muscle is using so much glucose, and whenever you're doing like 1 to 2 to 3 hour runs every single day, it's like it gets really tedious, and the effects that you can feel, the effects that you feel when you're underfueled and overtrained. It's not like being underfueled and like you just go through the day like you might be a little groggy at work, like fasting. It's like you're still performing and training so much, and it's like your body, like my body, for instance, I think went into this like hypercatabolic like state, and it was really, really rough. It was honestly really, really rough at first. Mega injuries. I just didn't want to bite the bullet and like up my calories a lot, because also I am one of those types of people that likes to kind of keep the calories light whenever I'm working.
Yeah.
Because it just keeps me thinking a bit clearer. I'm not opposed to like big breakfasts or anything, and I do have them occasionally, but I like to kind of backload some of my calories maybe for like the afternoon. Or early evening, just because it works better with my work schedule, and I can just kind of stay dialed, and like maybe just have like some egg yolks, coffee, maybe like some fruit, like in the early day. Marathon running, you can't do that. You got to like find a way to shovel like some rice or some like a lot of freaking fruit if all you're going to use is fruit, or potatoes or honey, or lots of maple syrup in your drink, or whatever you're using to fuel carbohydrates. And so it was just it was a process finding something that worked for me, and I didn't want to stray outside of animal based. And so I would fill up plastic bags when I was running like these 22-mile workouts. I would just fill plastic bags filled with raw honey and sea salt, and I would just bite them off and squeeze them in my mouth, and it was good and everything, but it just didn't feel like enough for me. And I'm not saying that that's not enough for an endurance fuel. I think honey is a great product to use for endurance, but it was just the behind the scenes stuff. Like I just wasn't getting enough calories in general. And so the whole thing was kind of, it wasn't bulletproof.
Yeah.
And so that was my first marathon. And then as I just navigated the journey, I just like realized, hey, there's something to holding on to a little bit of body weight. There's something to being in a caloric surplus, especially for performance. And I really just had to put the aesthetics aside.
Yeah.
And it's like nobody could even really tell the difference. It's like, dude, you still look great. It's like the harshest critic is always the man in the mirror. And so I just kind of got out of this weird mentality, kind of broke a barrier, and just focused on performance only. And it's like there's a difference in training for optimal health and optimal performance, right? You're going to train completely differently. There's a difference in the way that you're going to eat. And so I guess like, I just don't think optimal performance aligns with optimal health at the end of the day. Truly, like you can have both to a certain level, but like if you want to be an optimal performer, then you don't have to do anything, but it's just interesting to navigate. And so now I'm at a point where I feel really confident, and I've just found all these awesome tips and tricks to be able to like get a lot of calories using nutrient dense foods, using whole foods. That's really the answer. Like you can even the processed bullshit that we eat, like you can just recreate it with whole foods.
Yeah.
Any freaking dish in the world almost. It's like even just every fried food that you can think of, any sort of like dinner dish, like even energy gels, everything you can recreate using whole foods or just swapping a few ingredients. And a lot of people just aren't aware of it, or they don't know it, or they don't think it's actually important enough, or they don't think it's a negligible difference. And I guess you won't really know until you know.
Yeah.
And so that's like kind of one of my missions is helping spread the word on like podcasts like this and being like, yo, you should at least try and just try it and just see how it feels.
Yes.
And most people that go down the path and try it, it's like, why do you think so many people get hooked on the animal-based diet or whole food diet, or just it's because once you start feeling good, the momentum compounds. And so, gosh, man, diet is so important. And again, like I would recommend anyone, like if you're just after optimal health, like, dude, it's really not that hard to eat a whole food diet. There's just no excuse for and anyways, that's how I feel about the nutrition piece.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I'm in the CrossFit space now. I train at CrossFit Mayhem over in Tennessee, which is kind of like the mecca for CrossFit, and the CrossFit Games are coming up here really soon. And I've been having conversations with some of the elite guys there, because the point I want to stress here that you made is that optimal performance comes at a cost, and it's probably actually your health. I think, being maximally fit and going to be, set these crazy feats or be the best in the world in that regard is actually detrimental to health to a point, because you put in enormous miles, stress on the body, breaking down, rebuilding, hypercortisolemic, you name it. So if you are choosing that because it's also something that you just feel compelled to do and you want to do rad shit, then fueling yourself appropriately if you can is really going to help, because hopefully you can offset some of that damage. Like with a lot of these CrossFit guys now, it's the same thing. They're doing the gel packs and slamming Sour Patch Kids between the Metcons and such. And it's like, I get the need for those calories. I wonder if you could switch that out and do the real food version of it. Is it going to cost more money? Yes. Is it going to take more time? Yes. Is it going to be less convenient?
Yeah.
Yes. But I think you'd get it back on return for things like not completely tanking your hormones, hopefully in the end, recovering a little bit better. But it's just hard, man. It's hard.
100%.
And there's that choose your hard kind of thing.
100%. It's hard, but like what in life, like the whole modern primal thing too, it's like the more modern you get, it's like easy. And like the primal stuff is like more hard, like the more primal principles. And it's like, it's perceived as hard, but it's not even hard. It's just the societal perception that we have. It's like moving your body shouldn't be hard. Like training, like I know it is hard based off of like what we perceive as like normality in society, but it's really not that hard. And I think, I just think even minimum effective dose would benefit so many people.
Yeah.
Diet, movement, whatever it is, whether you're microdosing walks twice a day to offset some blood sugar just after you eat, whatever it is, like the more that we can adopt some of these good habits, I just think the better we'll feel. And the more connected you are to, we haven't even talked about this, but the more connected you are to energy, nature's source, like in my opinion, I'm not a Christian. I rep a few Christian tattoos. I've been through an interesting spiritual journey. But I definitely believe in God. I believe in a higher power. I believe in source, Mother Nature. There's a divine energy that's definitely guiding things. And whenever you get away from a lot of the modern bullshit, it's like a lot of that super, super hyper modernized stuff it removes us from that container.
Yeah. And
it's almost like whenever we reconnect with adversity, whenever we reconnect with real food, like a lot of these topics we're touching on, it's like it makes you feel like more and more of a real human that can better connect with nature, that can better connect with maybe spirituality even, is kind of what I'm trying to say. Like it just makes the whole world clearer. Body, thoughts, everything.
Yeah, I love that. So take me through a practical application of that for you now. Take me through a day in the life of the Modern Primal.
Yeah, absolutely. So every day is going to be different for me. I'm one of those people that like, I don't like doing the same thing every day. I don't like eating the same thing every day. I like trying to trust my intuition as much as possible. I'm like, yo, guide me. Let's go. Like, let's go through the day. Sometimes that means sitting on the couch all day and just thinking. And those are incredible days. I used to not let myself have days like that because it just didn't seem like an investment, but anyways, learned to show myself a lot of grace, a lot of love. And so these days, I will usually wake up around 5, 6, 7. Like I don't really set a lot of alarms. I just kind of wake up when I wake up, let the pups out, go outside, touch the feet on grass, hopefully get some sun if it's there. And then the first thing that I'll usually consume these days is this new concoction that I've just been trying recently in the recent months. And it's raw eggs, orange juice, and sometimes I'll add other things like milk or cream if I want to make it like creamy, or sometimes methylene blue. It's kind of like I'm sure you know what it is. I know that maybe some of these podcast listeners might not align just because it's not like in the animal-based kingdom, but it's a pretty advanced supplement. And I've just noticed that like the fats from the eggs and the choline just like really get my brain firing. It feels like it almost like saturates it. Like I wake up and it's almost like kind of dry, and then I get the eggs in. It feels like it just saturates my brain. The orange juice gives you a nice little kick of carbohydrates that give you some energy, and I feel like it primes my gut and gets it ready to kind of handle what's next. Usually that's maybe a cup of coffee. I like to use coffee. I've studied some Ray Peat, and I'm super interested in metabolism. And I do think that coffee should be used super wisely. It should be used just like you would use like a recreational drug. Like you should really use it with intention, or add some things that can make your experience better. But anyways, I like to use coffee to fire up my metabolism and usually get myself ready for a workout after that. And I'll either work out fasted off the eggs and a little bit of juice. I'll squeeze fresh orange juice, sprinkle some sea salt in it, use that as a pre-workout. I'm creating my own performance hydration supplement right now that I can't talk too much about just because it's not officially launched, but I'll do that sometimes before my workout.
Cool.
And yeah, I mean, I'm consuming electrolytes constantly throughout the day. That's something that I think so many people, if you haven't found out about it yet, it's like the saltier the better. We need more salt, not less. It's a massive psyop, I think. And quality does matter. So I would stick to some high quality salts and definitely do some research, because you can over salt. But I think a lot of people go away from salt, but in all reality, salt and other minerals are what hydrate us. And so whenever you're not consuming electrolytes with your agua, it's literally diluting your mineral content and your electrolyte content in your entire body. And so I've just become almost obsessed with like hydration. And I think a lot of people are overhydrating with water that doesn't have any electrolytes in it.
Yeah, right. Just like the health craze of like drink a gallon of water per day.
It used to be not a lot of people aren't drinking water at all.
Yeah.
And now it's like people are drinking too much without anything in it. And so anyways, water is super important. I know that there's a lot of conspiracies and who knows what the best water is. Personally, I get glass jugs from Mountain Valley.
Yeah.
I just order it like through Costco.
So we got back there.
Nice,
too.
perfect. Yeah. And that's that's a solid one. I know there's like a Live Spring Water here in Austin too. I've used them a few times. They're pretty good. And then, I consider myself a freaking Michelin star chef, man. Yeah. I love to cook. In another life, I totally would have been a chef. I think it's one of the most valuable skills ever too. It's an essential skill. Cooking is one of the best skills I ever learned. Once you gain sovereignty in the kitchen, you don't have to rely on the processed bullshit anymore. You don't have to rely on Uber Eats. You can whip up the most delicious gourmet meals in your own kitchen. It tastes better every time. Yeah. It's more nutrient dense. It's like every time I order a steak at a restaurant, I'm like, I could have made this better at home. It's never worth it.
100%, man.
It's never worth it. And so, I like to get super creative with my meals. At first, I was super strict with the animal base. I would only eat meat, eggs, fruit, honey. Paul Saladino and his work really changed my life when I first found out about him. And I really, really am appreciative to him. And it's awesome being on a podcast that's associated with him and his company.
Yeah.
But I've adopted more of like a leniency, and I still stick to whole foods, but I just pick better for you ingredients if I'm doing anything processed. So like I'll do processed siete tortillas, but it's with almond flour and I think like avocado oil, just better ingredients. And so I'm very tedious about my groceries. I always spend the extra $1. I think that it's just a no-brainer for me to spend as much money as I have to on groceries. I don't even think about it truly. And once you do that, like you're not even going out and getting food anyway. So it's like you're saving money in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, so anyways, So I really like to cook. And so I'll just base, most of my meals will have a base of a really nice, beautiful quality protein. I like to go to farmers markets. I like to go to, what's that place here in Austin? It's like a little trailer grocery store. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank. It's Shirttail Creek and LaBelle V farms that are partnered together, local pastures.
Yeah, right.
It's this incredible place in Austin. And
we know Shirttail Creek too. We've had Sam on the show. He's a legend.
Dude, Shirttail Creek's the best. Their eggs are so that's what I use for my eggs. Yeah, and meat. But yeah, it'll look something like, dude, I'll make like beef tacos with like beef tongue. I'll make beef heart. I'll do just shredded beef. I do a lot of crock pot recipes in like a stainless steel crock pot. Yep. So easy. Bone broth, any sort of protein you want with like some potatoes, vegetables, lots of stews, bro. I love stews. I love slow cooking stuff in my cast iron, and I just make like homemade gravies with like bone broth and different things. And I just get really creative. Like I've been perfecting this homemade shepherd's pie recipe that's just absolutely fantastic.
Speaking my language,
it's
bro.
So freaking good. And a lot of people will see that and they'll be like, oh, that's not primal. Or like, or a lot of people will see that and not associate that with the health food. And it's like one of the most amazing health foods that you can have whenever you switch a few ingredients. And so it's just like the most amazing meat with the most amazing bone broth and herbs and spices with high quality organic mashed potatoes with grass-fed butter, organic olive oil, like the highest quality salt, and it's sprinkled with like organic chives. And whenever I eat like that, even just talking about it, like I am passionate about high quality ingredients, and I really think there's something there. And I think a lot of people would benefit from prioritizing that stuff. And so I'll just mess around and just make whatever I want. I make it a point to make dishes that not a lot of people associate as health foods, because I want to show people like, yo, you can have the shepherd's pie, you can have the chicken fried steak, you can have whatever you want. Just switch a few freaking ingredients, and it takes more time, energy, and money probably, but it's all worth it in my opinion, because dude, we really only have one life. Our bodies are temples. And I'm not saying that you can't have the ice cream or the margarita or chips and queso every once in a while, or if you feel called or whatever that is. But like the majority of the time, we really should be treating it with the utmost respect and love. And it really translates into other areas of your life. So you know how people say how you do anything is how you do everything? It's like, okay, so if you're feeling your body with shit all day, then you're going to spew out shit all day. And you're going to do that when it comes to your work, and you're not going to do a great job on your research or your paper or whatever it is. And so whenever you apply that to something as big as nutrition or like habits or moving your body, working out, something that you have to do to literally survive, whenever you're kicking ass in that area and holding ultimate responsibility and creating a great outcome, it's going to trickle into other areas of your life.
No doubt, man. No doubt. I think nobody regrets investing in themselves. And I think people should maybe think about food more as an investment. Like you said, I'll spend more money at the grocery store because obviously that's a high value of yours, and you understand what you put in dictates what you get out of this machine and out of this life. And I love to hear you speak so passionately about food, because I think one of the biggest misconceptions about doing a diet of any kind is it's going to be so boring. It's restrictive. Like people's minds immediately go there. It's all what I can't have and how this is going to suck. And it's just, it doesn't have to be that way. Like you said, we'll eat out, my family will eat out every once in a while now, and every single time it's like, we should just cook at home. It's way better. It's way healthier. And we genuinely love every bite of food that we eat. And we're getting creative too, because we've got toddler and they're notoriously picky. So like, okay, well, how do you recreate chicken nuggets? Well, you get the best quality chicken you can find. You get epic pork rinds. You do an egg wash and you fry them in tallow. And now like he's munching down on these, animal-based chicken nuggets. And I'm like, I want that too. It's
nutrient
delicious.
Bombs. They're way better than the processed stuff.
So good. It's so good. So I'm all about that passion. And anybody that says they can't cook, just watch a few YouTube videos.
Literally.
Man. It's so easy now. You can learn anything. And I think it's one of the best skills, because like you said, it's this breaking bread with real good people. There are a few things that we share now that are so real and raw and authentic, and good, clean food with good conversation and good people is it's literally one of my favorite things to do. So, challenge yourself, cook something romantic for your partner, invite friends over, have a cookout, and you might suck at first, but you're only going to get better. Just like the first time you probably ran, you're like, I suck at this. And look at you now. Everything. It's just reps, man.
Experience is the best teacher with everything.
Yeah.
100%, brother. I agree. I love it.
Talk to me about supplements. What do you think of for performance-wise? I know you mentioned methylene blue. What else do you have as like staples for you or clients and things like that you think are really good supplements to consider?
Yeah, so supplement-wise, it's very relative. I kind of hold my standard with supplements similar to my diet. There's not a whole lot that I like to take every single day because I like to switch things up. And so if I have a really effective sleep supplement that I think is really cool and really clean that I like a lot, I'm not going to use it every day. I might use it for the day that I have to wake up super early or that I might be going to bed at a later time. And so I use everything strategically. I just kind of think of it as like this apothecary in my house, and I just kind of, everything has its little purpose to use in my toolkit. And so things that I take every day or often, I suppose, is creatine. I take that. I also get it in my diet. I'm a big human, and another thing when we think about supplements, especially for people that don't have access to like high quality meats from like a farm, or you don't get to shake your farmer's hand, or you live somewhere where the only option you have is like Walmart, or I don't know, the quality of our food has definitely gone downhill. And so I think supplementation, elite high quality supplementation, it's not necessary, but especially if you're performing, like we said, like supplementation is really going to help a lot of people. And I think that it's something that should be considered an additional step after you already take strides in areas that you can control without them. So like diet, movement, habits. I don't want anybody to think that any sort of supplement is a magic pill. I don't like, and people come to me for supplement advice all the time because I'm passionate about them. So I just want to preface with that. And so I will take like creatine. I take like anti-inflammatories, so high quality turmeric or curcumin. I'm on a protocol right now. I'll be vulnerable and share something with you. I got the COVID vaccine back when I was in the military. I was in the Navy. I was 6 months from getting out, and I was against it. I didn't want to get it. And they proposed me with like, you're going to have to, you have the potential to get kicked out if you don't get this. I was like one of the last people. I had 6 months to get out. I was like, you can't give me 6 months. And they were like, it's up to you. Like, I'm not saying that you'll get kicked out, but there's a chance. Like, it's up to the commanding officer or whatever. And I was like, wow. And so I got it. And back in November, I mentioned it briefly, but I had a traumatic brain injury where I was just taking a pee and I randomly fainted.
Wow.
With no, like, I wasn't feeling weird. It was just the most random thing. I just woke up. My girlfriend was screaming in my face, like, a minute later, like, thinking that I was joking. And I just ended up, I'm a tall guy, I'm 6'6", and so I ended up just slamming my head on the ground. And it was really, really traumatic. I couldn't move or speak for like five or 6 days. I literally couldn't move or speak. Yeah.
Scary.
I thought, like, there was a time where I was like, I may be permanently disabled. And I couldn't communicate that to anyone. And so it was like an insane experience. But anyways, tying that back to the supplements and protocol. So like after that happened, I started taking the vaccine really seriously, just because I've seen a lot of people post about it. I've seen people are dropping like flies. A lot of people are dying from diseases and cancer and stuff that maybe could have fought it off. And like, I'm not trying to fearmonger anyone. I don't think it's specifically the vaccine, but an example of some high level supplementation that I'm using for this reason specifically is to use some things to clear spike proteins out of my blood, so that in case I do run into a disease or something that I would have already came across, my body is going to be able to function properly and be able to fight things off. And so I'm taking like ivermectin and curcumin, bromelain, and Japanese natto or natto, I think is how you say it. And I saw a protocol. I've done so much research. I was a bit skeptical at first, and then I was like, you know what? It couldn't hurt. And so I've been taking it. I take it right before I go in my sauna, and then I just sweat a lot. I think of it as like this massive detox. And I haven't noticed any tangible benefits, but that's an example of something that I'm taking right now because I'm trying to offset the damages or potential damages of getting the vaccine, because I do think it was a psyop, and I think that it was not great for a lot of people to take that. Some things that I like taking every day: Heart and Soil supplements. You know, being on this show, Heart and Soil was one of the first brands I ever worked with. They aligned with my mission in every way. I was telling some of the guys here about it earlier, but like 3 years ago, I was applying to work for Heart and Soil just because I loved their mission. I didn't have my personal brand at the time or really have anything going for me. And so I was like, I will clean y'all's bathrooms. Like, let me come work. And never got hired just because I didn't really have too many applicable skills at the time that I was great at communicating. So maybe, no, I'm just kidding. I got too much going on. But yeah, Heart and Soil supplements. I love Whole Package, Hair, Skin, and Nails, Warrior. I think organ meats and the nutrients that they have inside of them are really great. I think Heart and Soil is a great option because it is, if you can get them in your diet, it's fantastic.
Right.
But a lot of people, it's just one of those modern conveniences. It's like, that's some modern primal shit. It's a modern convenience that helps you get back to your roots, you know? So
right.
It's wonderful. I do like using protein powders, like clean proteins, whey protein. I'm actually using some Heart and Soil right now that I don't know. Have y'all dropped that yet?
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. It's coming soon. But I've been trying that, and it's absolutely fantastical.
So good. Yeah, because I imagine, do you have a protein number in it? You must be getting up
yeah,
there.
I mean, I have a number I shoot for. I never track or count anything, but I just try to shoot for like at least 200.
Yeah.
I used to try to go like 1.5 times my body weight, and I felt like it was just too much. I felt like,
especially to eat
weighed down
without
it's already
shakes.
hard enough getting 200, honestly. Yeah,
it's a lot of
and so I
protein,
use shakes, and so what I'll do is I'll do a kefir base with most of them, and I just pour a bunch of kefir. I add like a protein powder, collagen powder, colostrum, and then I'll do like a lot of berries, some maple syrup or honey for some carbohydrates as well. And I do a lot of shakes, a lot of yogurt bowls, similar style. And yeah, man, I literally have so many supplements though, and like I just dive into it like just whenever I want to use it. So I have my own L-citrulline just by itself in a bag, and like sometimes I will add that for pre-workout to expand my veins. And you can do similar things naturally. Like, I'm not saying that supplements are the answer. For me, I found that I really like to use them. It's just something I'm interested in and passionate about. And I've realized that as long as I keep my cornerstone and I realized that my priority is whole foods, and that's the base, and this is just an extension. As long as I always remember that, I think that I can handle it with intention and within reason.
Yeah.
So
I love it. I mean, the key's in the word supplement, right?
Exactly.
It's supplementary to the foundations. And I think I'm kind of like you. If my wife's feeling a little certain way about something, she basically comes to me like the modern medicine man, and she's like, what have you got in that mystery cupboard, and what can you give me to help with X, Y, and Z? And I love helping friends out in the same way or sharing cool things. You mentioned methylene blue. I've been experimenting with that recently, you know, and it's just really interesting to turn yourself into a little bit of a lab rat and see what works, pressure test it for a while, and then share it with your crew and see what they want to think about it, you know?
100%. So an example of like something that I might whip up with supplements, like I really, really love it. And you mentioned methylene blue. So I made my friend a methylene blue because he was about to fly. And, you know, flying can be really harmful and stressful. And not only with your circadian, but with your immune system and EMFs. And like, there's a lot of stuff to be cognizant of when you're flying. And so I made him this amazing cocktail to kind of sip on before he went for his plane ride. And it was some spring water with some salts in it for some electrolytes, because when you're flying too, you sweat a lot and you expel a lot of electrolytes. And so there was electrolytes in it. I did a few droplets of methylene blue. What methylene blue is it basically enhances your mitochondrial function. So it basically, like, imagine your cells like dilating, and they're able to accept more energy. So like whenever you're standing in the sun or a red light or something, your mitochondria are receiving energy from that, your cells, or the mitochondria in your cells. And so what methylene blue does is like, it makes it to where you can receive more and basically like charge up more. It's some crazy shit, and it's a textile dye. So it's a bit sketchy. And so I had to do a lot of research before trying it. And you want to make sure that you get some good tested methylene blue and make sure they have the certificate of analysis, I believe is what it's called. My boy Vance at Meraki Medicinal has an incredible one. And so I did some methylene blue. I did some silver, So from Symbiotica, just a few drops of silver. It's like it's thought to be this amazing immune boosting element. And then I added, what was the other thing that I added? Oh, some shilajit. And it's just this mineral dense, immune fighting. Methylene blue also helps with immunity. And just like little stuff like that. And I just call them my just like performance cocktails or just cocktail, you know, and I just throw whatever I want in there.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool compounds out there. And I think you said something at the beginning of this, which is like our food supply and our soils and such are depleted of minerals these days. And I think supplements are a way to bridge the gap. Because even if we're eating our foundations really well, we've got something like an animal-based real food diet, we're taking organs, still minerals, you know, minerals can be missing, soils can be depleted. So it's just cool to have options and cool to have, you know, cool things up your sleeve to experiment and play with. And that's kind of one of my last questions for you here today, because I'm very interested in Mastic gum.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't got on it yet. So Mastic gum, what is it? What are some of the potential benefits?
Yeah. So Mastic gum is a product that I am selling right now. It has been around for centuries. It's literally tree sap. And so I was really called to it because I saw it as this because gum is like this modern invention, and a lot of it's just so modern, filled with plastic and chemicals, and people are just leaching microplastics and Ace K or it's just like random like bullshit in their gum that's really wreaking havoc on their endocrine system and their hormones. And so you know, other countries we can learn a lot from other countries, let's say in Western modernized America. And so, I mean, these guys in the Mediterranean have been chewing this stuff for centuries. They've known about it. A lot of countries and cultures over there are really woke. But it's this tree sap that grows specifically on an island in Greece called Chios, Greece. And it's like a sap that grows on the tree. It hardens during a certain time of the year, and it falls off, and then they harvest it and clean it. And they make it into powders, gum, and the gum looks amazing. It looks like these like little hard crystals. It literally looks like rocks kind of, and you chew them, and it's a little hard at first, and you clump the pieces together, and then once you start chewing, it turns into a beautiful piece of gum. And what's really amazing about it is that it's 10 times harder than normal chewing gum. And so one of something that's happening in society right now is people are hyper modernizing their food, and so they're not chewing anything hard. It's like eating applesauce all day, and so you're not working your jaw muscles, you're not working your face at all, and so your cranial cavity is probably not working properly. Whenever you exercise the muscles in your face, it can actually dilate your nasal passageways, help you breathe better, make you an overall more functional human. I know there's studies that have tied like jaw strength to longevity, along with like grip strength and stuff like that. And so it's incredible. It's an incredible tree sap gum, just one single ingredient, nothing else. And so I am sharing that because not a lot of people even knew about it. Everyone I talked to, they're like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, it's absolutely incredible. And truth be told, there is a Mastic Gum Growing Association in Greece that basically dominates the supply. I've asked them multiple times. I'm like, how much do I have to pay you to be the only gum distributor? Like, how much for all of it? You know, like, I want to like really make this successful, and they want to keep it as a fair and open thing for everybody. And so my new partner, Adam von Rothfelder, he helped me kind of realize that. And so we're still selling it, but it's not like, it's just a fun offering that I have from my audience that I want to share with people. And so the Instagram and stuff, it's probably all going to turn into the hydration product page. Cool. And it's going to go through a massive rebrand. But I definitely am still selling it right now. And we have some amazing products, and I highly recommend anybody to try it. It's absolutely phenomenal. I wish I would have brought some for you.
I know, man. We'll have to sync up and get on,
or just send you
some mineral cocktails and some Mastic gum chewing. Let's go.
Absolutely. Yeah, guys. So if you're interested in seeing what I'm up to, checking out the Mastic gum, my main platform is Instagram at @themodernprimal_. I'm also on YouTube and TikTok at The Modern Primal. I'm super friendly, active in my DMs, love chatting with new people. Again, I'm coming out with an amazing hydration product soon, less than 60 days. Not another product like it. Super passionate about it. So if you want to stay updated and keep up to date with me, just Instagram's probably the best place to to stay tuned.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much for sharing your energy and your insights. And it's very inspirational, man. I think you're a very inspirational character, and it's not a secret as to why you are expanding and exploding on Instagram, and people are looking to you for some leadership in this crazy modern world as the Modern Primal. And I'm very excited to see what you're creating and to see that you're creating life too. I know the dad chapter's coming up soon as well, and we didn't even get a chance to talk about that. So once you're in the throes of fatherhood, we'll have to run
I'll be
back.
back. Yeah, dude, I would love to. Thank you for having me. I love this team. I love these people. There's a reason why we are connected here right now today. I think that everybody that comes to this compound is just a phenomenal human being that all has a similar mission and motive, and that's to make the world a happier, healthier place. And so I'm honored to be here with you guys.
Heck yeah. And that includes you lot too. So continue sharing the message and living it out, and share this with a friend, and definitely go check out Joe at the Modern Primal. And we'll see y'all next time.
Absolutely. Peace. Much love.
Boom. All right, friends, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Radical Health Radio. We got a fresh new podcast for you every Wednesday. If you enjoyed the show, consider liking, subscribing, reviewing, and rating us on your podcast platform. It helps to spread this message of radical health. We'll see you next week.